How could that be? How could that be? How could the Boston Bruins and the Montreal Canadiens, the best rivalry in the NHL, one of the best rivalries in sports, how could that have possibly cooled off? Well, it did. It did cool off. It's cooled off for quite some time. This season has been the first time in a long time where Bruins Canadiens games have had some meaning and some hatred and some vigor. Both Canadiens Bruins games this year have started off with fights off the opening draw. Now, let's talk about the rivalry because it took a backseat for a long time. The Bruins and Canadiens last playoff meeting was in the spring of 2014. Since then, the Canadiens and the Bruins were kind of reversed. The Bruins were always competing for the Stanley Cup. They were always a top 5 team in the league. Montreal was a bottom 5 team for a long time. So there was a lack of playoff meetings. Then COVID happened in 2019, and the Bruins and the Canadiens the year afterwards got put into different divisions. There was a stretch after COVID where the Bruins and Canadiens didn't have a game in nearly 2 calendar years for one reason or the other. And so the rivalry has definitely taken a backseat. The Bruins, meanwhile, had playoff meetings against a bunch against the Maple Leafs, the Hurricanes, the Panthers, the Lightning. Like, playoffs is what drives rivals, right? Now, obviously, the Bruins and Canadiens are always going to be a rivalry, right? The history is there. But in terms of like modern day rivals, if you're not playing somebody very often in meaningful games and both teams aren't good, there's not going to be a ton of hatred. The longest playoff drought they've ever had has been 12 years from 1931 to 1943. I'm talking a head-to-head playoff drought. 12 years from 1931 to 1943. As I said, their last playoff meeting was 2014, and right now it's 2026. So not just this season because it's their third meeting of the year, third and final, and the first two are pretty heated, but just generally speaking, I feel like the Bruins-Canadiens rivalry has renewed. Montreal being good again is great for the NHL. It's great for the sport. And just like the Yankees being good is good for baseball, it's always good to have the most historic franchises that have the most titles good because it gives people somebody to hate. But as it pertains to the Bruins-Canadiens rivalry, it is always good and better when both teams are good.